I think the speakers are working tonight. Looks like the camera's working tonight. Tonight, we'll be in business. Um, so hi everybody, and welcome back to another hour of good nature. Let's see if I can get us a little straightened out here. I was all set to meet with you outside tonight because it's still really warm out. This is really remarkable for this late in October. But it was so windy. I did a little test with the microphones and it sounded, like I was in a hurricane. Now it does last few minutes now, it seems like maybe it's quieted down a little bit. But anyway, we're inside. I'm overdressed, but we'll get through this. I wanted to start off with a couple of housekeeping notes, figurative, one literal. Um, the news is starting to creep out, and I wanted to make sure you heard it here. And if you've already heard it, this is confirmation. I'm actually going to be retiring pretty soon at the towards the end of the year on December 20th. It's going to be my last day at the Park District. Certainly not my last day as a naturalist, because old naturalists never die. It's wonderful to be associated with a field where I can just keep in learning and hopefully sharing. I honestly don't know what retirement is going to look like, because I would like to keep on doing a few things, but I would also like to take a break. So I'm going to start with that. I'm going to start with the latter. I'm going to take some time to decide what it is I want to do. You guys know I bought that cabin up in Michigan, so I'll be spending some time up there, and maybe that'll help me figure out how to approach retirement, but still be able to share things as I go down my learning journey. I just love being able to share things with people. So we will be stopping the Good Natured Hour. I believe the last date for sign up is December 17th. Instead of a program that night, there's actually going to be a little retirement benefit, a little maybe I do need a benefit, a little retirement event that will be happening at Hickory Knolls that night, 3 to 6 p.m. So if you are local and you would like to stop by, I am going to be getting a copy of the invitation that our marketing department is creating. So once that's available, I'll send it out, and you all are certainly welcome to come and join in the fun and the festivities. So going along with that, I know some of you are retired, and you know that there is a bit of housekeeping that goes along with that. I've been going through files, a lot of files that I actually moved to St. Charles from my job at the Fox Valley Park District at Red Oak Nature Center. And what's that rule? How if you haven't opened a folder, if you haven't used something in, what is it, a year, you get rid of it. Well, some of those files are now at least 17 years old. A lot of them are pushing 20. So I'm trying to, save a very, very small amount of things, recycle the rest. But in doing so, I'm coming across all kinds of fun things. This was a card. Have any of you ever been up to Hayward, Wisconsin, to the National Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame? Have you ever stood in the mouth of the giant muskie? If you haven't been up there, it's certainly worth a trip. In fact, I think there's a giant bluegill. Yeah, there's a couple other giant fish too. They didn't get top billing. But this is really, it really is that big. You really can go up the stairs and stand in the teeth of a muskie. So if you're so inclined, put that on your bucket list. Another thing, we used to, at Hickory Knolls, we used to do a program called Gone Squatchin'. And it was the lucky recipient of a 6-pack of this. It's called Wild Trail Pale Ale. The search for the elusive Sasquatch continues. as I recall, it was pretty tasty. Of course, it's empty now, but I don't know if I've mentioned to you guys, back in the 70s, I was a beer can collector, and I guess I can't quite give that up either. So I'll be adding this to the cans that I did get rid of most of the collection this summer, but I got about 50 cans that I'm going to add this to. And then have you ever tangled with these? This is around town here, the honey locust is a very popular tree for suburban yards, for parkways. Its leaves are small. It doesn't make a lot of mess. A lot of what is planted today are sterile varieties, so they don't produce those long pods. And then I can't think of a honey locust locally that still has the spines, which are present on the true native species of honey locust. Look at this. This is, what is that, 4 or 5 inches long? That's an impressive spine there, and it's sharp too. I can't remember where I picked these up at. There's actually several of them, and I don't know what I'm going to do with them. They were relatively safe at the office. If I bring them home here, I think the furry roommates and I will definitely end up hurting ourselves. So I might have to sacrifice these to a compost pile or maybe a burn pile. But this, as scary as these look, these are, and yes, they're a pain. I know people who've had these on their property, that they've had them pop tires on their lawnmowers and things, but they really do help protect birds that nest in these trees. A predator, a cat, a raccoon, and a possum isn't going to want to climb through all of these spines, these thorns, to get up to a nest, to just for a couple eggs or a couple nestlings. So nesting success for birds who nest in trees with these spines is pretty good. Around here, again, these went away with selective breeding, and for the safety of most of us that live around a lot of honey locusts. But it is something, and you can still see these. Well, the last place I saw these, and not to say that you have to go all that way, but the last place I saw a tree with these spines present was at the Conservation Foundation's Dayton Bluffs property, which is down Route 71 on the way to Starved Rock. So got a few of these. If anybody wants any, let me know. And then night hike crayons. I don't know how many of you go for walks at night, or go for walks at night with groups of people, and go for walks at night with groups of people and don't use flashlights, but that's what we used to do. It's been, gosh, probably at least a decade since I've done a night hike, but we used to do this activity where everybody would get a crayon and a card, and they would write down, and remember, this is night, so it's dark. They would write down on the card what color they thought their crayon was. And it was always so interesting then at the end of the hike to go back to the nature center and have people who thought they had a black crayon find out that it was actually red. But the tricks our eyes play on us at night. Our eyes are very good at perceiving color when there's sufficient light, but when it's dark, we really just the ability to see color goes away, and we focus more on movement and shapes and things like that. So got a bunch of night hike crayons. If anyone is so inclined, let me know. Maybe I should have a little office sale, garage office sale, or office garage sale. One more thing, this is kind of more of what is it? We may have looked at these before, but I forgot I had 3 of them. I had bought these off of eBay several years ago. Does anybody know what these are? This one was just, I think it was unused. This one here. These two have been bent. They may have been used. They may have been just bent in preparation for being used. And to show you, excuse me, just a second. This is just out of reach. I'll show you how they're actually used here with demonstration shells. So here we've got, we're going to pretend like these mussel shells match up. These are crowfoot hooks, and they were used back in the day to drag the bottom of rivers. Or maybe they're still used. I know there's so many restrictions on how mussels are harvested and where and when, but these are definitely of the style that were used back when musseling and taking mussels for use in making buttons was in its heyday. These would drag along the bottom of the river, and of course, the mussels are down there, and they've got their shell partially open. They're filtering water in and feeding. Well, when these hooks tumble across the mussel defensively closes, and then they would be hauled out. So some boats would have hundreds of these hooks hanging in rows that they could drag along the bottom of the river. So then hundreds and sometimes thousands of mussels could be harvested at one time. So yeah, these I'm going to keep along with the shells. But as we go through, as I go through more things in the closet, more things in the drawers, we might have more show and tells to share. From there, there's an interesting little tidbit of news. I kept waiting to see if there would be more publicized about online. I haven't seen anything yet, so I called and got more information. It's a story I think you will appreciate as long as I can remember how we do a screen share. All right, let's go this. Okay, so this is from an email that I received over the weekend. This is from a woman. You may have guys remember, you might remember the little book of Kermit poetry that we shared, I don't know, a year or so ago. Well, this woman wrote again, and she said that so this would be late last week. Two landed late afternoon yesterday at Pershing Elementary School field in Joliet, which my back garage opens up to. So she had a front row seat. The police even showed up, I guess, to make sure no one went too close. One eagle was sick or hurt, and the other was standing guard until dusk when it flew off. Guess they had a hard time finding someone to pick up the sick or hurt bird, but finally found a couple of people from Kane Area Rehab, which is our good old Kane Area Rehab and Education for Wildlife that is located right here in St. Charles in the Valley View area. As Cheryl said, it was very exciting. She attached pictures. She also sent a little video. So let me show you the pictures, and then I will share what Vicki, who runs CARE, because I called her. I thought, getting an eagle in for rehabilitation, that's a pretty big deal. And Vicki, not only am I friends with her on Facebook, but I also follow CARE on CARE's Facebook. And there was no mention of this eagle. So I got to thinking, geez, what if some CARE imposters showed up and stole the eagle? So I wanted to talk to Vicki, and fear not, everything's on the up and up. Let's see. So here was the scene. So here is the downed eagle, and then on the left is the eagle that Cheryl said was standing guard. Well, what Vicki said was that we're not anywhere near eagle courtship season yet. That's still a little ways off. And the thinking is that these two eagles were rivals. And the bird that's down over here came as a result of being attacked by this bird on the left. That one. So that one you can see sitting upright and no apparent injuries. This one was down flat. And in fact, when the rescuers did come, so what happened was Vicky, you know, she's up here in St. Charles. She finds out about this bird. Well, she has contacts all over the region. She had a colleague, associate friend who is a falconer. I think it was the same falconer who rescued the red-tailed hawk that flew into the landfill flames a couple years ago. So this woman and some other folks went over, and when they saw this eagle down like that, they thought for sure it had a broken back because you just don't see eagles looking immobile like that. Here it is being picked up barehanded and put into a carrier and hauled away. Now, one more. So that's that eagle. The eagle that was upright didn't stay the whole time. As it started to get dark, that eagle took off, but the immobilized eagle did not move at all. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. Let's stop this share. And actually going to try again now to show you. There's a short little video that shows the bird being put into the car. So you can see it's not struggling at all, but the good news is that boy, doesn't that give you an appreciation for how big these birds are? And that's a lot of bird to be lugging around. So this eagle was determined to have a broken femur. And so it's something that is fixable. A broken back would probably be looking at euthanasia. But the first rehabber of choice was the Illinois Raptor Center down in Decatur. For whatever reason. And Vicky said, you know, she would love to have an eagle to rehab, except for the fact that they need so much space and they need a large flight cage in order to be able to get strong again. CARE doesn't really have a cage of that size. Oak and Acres, I think they turned it down as well. Illinois Raptor Center said they couldn't take it. So it actually went down to the U of I vet med, the wildlife medical clinic down at Champaign-Urbana. So it's been fixed, or the healing has yet to begin, but the femur has been repaired. I don't know if I think they pinned it, and now the goal is to get the bird up and moving around again. At that point, it will be assessed to see if it's a candidate for release or if some raptor center will end up with an education eagle. I have to see how that story plays out. But I was so glad to hear that, you know, it wasn't a case of people masquerading as rehabbers. That does happen from time to time. And in fact, Vicky told me not too long ago, there was someone going around saying they were from CARE and picking up people's baby bunnies, baby squirrels. I don't know, you know, if those animals were actually rehabbed. Sometimes people do that because they need food for another animal or snake or something. Luckily, it doesn't happen too often, and thankfully, it did not happen in this case. So that eagle is in good hands. Kind of curious, a couple of times we've talked about Tyson, a young man who used to work at Hickory Knolls and is now in his third year of school down at the U of I Vet Med And his specialty is working in wildlife, so he may well get to work on this eagle. So fingers crossed, everything works out for that big bird. From here, let's do another screen share. I heard from our friends Keith and Rebecca, and they have been doing some naturing up in Lake County. Now let's see. I'm gonna do this, and we're gonna just share the screen. I'm gonna make this go away, and we're gonna go over to this. Okay, let's start here. There we go. So some of you, if you live here in Northern Illinois, you might recognize this scene. I have never been lucky enough to see it at this time of year. This is a look at Volo Bog. Bogs, I think we've talked about bogs a time or two. They're a type of wetland, and they are acidic in nature. There's very little drainage that occurs in a bog. So precipitation, runoff, things like that collect in these bowls, and the vegetation that lives in a bog has to be able to survive in those acidic conditions. This is where we get sphagnum moss. This is where things like pitcher plants grow. And what we're looking at here, these gorgeous golden trees here, I think there's another picture here that shows them in their full color. This is, our stupid system resources. The tamarack trees that are growing there are in their beautiful fall colors. Now, tamaracks are one of just a few conifers that are not evergreen. These are deciduous trees. I remember when I first was learning about tamaracks, I would get them confused with bald cypress. We have around town here, we have that's actually a tree that you can select to plant on your parkway here in St. Charles, the bald cypress. And it too is a deciduous conifer. However, the bald cypress grows in the south. Grows best in the south, I should say. It does grow okay up here, but you'll see it in cypress swamps down south. A lot of times, like the classic looking cypress tree has Spanish moss hanging from it, and they get those big knees that come up off of the roots up out of the water. They turn a deep rusty red color in the fall, whereas our tamaracks turn this lovely golden color. Tamaracks grow in the north, where bogs are more commonly found, and Volo Bog has a wonderful array of them circling the water there. So if you get a chance, Volo Bog, I believe, is a state park. And if you get a chance to get up there, go check it out, because it's there's a I haven't been there in a long time. I'm assuming it has still got the boardwalk going through it. And then there's interpretive science there where you can learn about all the unique ecology that defines what a bog is. And then the neighborhood cranes out for a walk. You'll notice that they are in front of an evergreen conifer. That's some type of pine there. The cranes, I saw a couple the other day off of Main Street, just a little bit west of Randall Road, just walking along. I love how nonchalant these birds are. And I just hope that people continue to respect them, to think they're cool. They are still definitely in the novelty phase as they move ever closer to people. People are like, wow, that's so cool. But it doesn't take, as we've seen, with people petting bison and Yellowstone and chasing after bears in the Smokies. It doesn't, take much for wildlife for people to get too close to wildlife that doesn't seem dangerous, but can be. This time of year, our cranes are not in breeding mode, but they still are. They're big birds, and they've got those long bills, and they're not afraid to use them defensively if that's what the situation calls for. So thanks for taking this picture from a distance. They are still lovely to look at. I can't help but wonder what the thoughts that were going on in this hawk's head. This is a red-tailed hawk, no doubt enjoying this extended bit of mild weather that we're having. And if I'm not mistaken, let's zoom in here. Yeah, see how the eye is still light colored here? That would indicate that this bird isn't real old. It isn't real old. It's not an adult yet. The younger a bird is, the lighter its eyes are. A mature red-tailed hawk will have the red tail, and then they'll also have a very dark eye. Adds to their coolness, their overall cool demeanor. And then kingfishers. This is a bird, well, now that the retirement cat is out of the bag, this is on my bucket list, is to track down a kingfisher pair and find out where they make their nest. Kingfishers, so they're birds that are associated with water. They eat predominantly fish. I remember watching them. I always seem to have a pair around the river when I worked at Red Oak, and this might make sense when I tell you what my bucket list thing is, why we would see them down there. This is a bird that excavates nests, not in trees, but in banks of rivers. And Red Oak has a lot of bluffs. There's some pretty steeply eroded banks down along that stretch of the river, and there's a drainage area that might make some good nesting habitat. I'm not sure, but I've never actually found a bank nest that's been dug out by a kingfisher. So I want to see if I can try and do that. But we would see the birds, they would dive down and they'd pick up a fish in that long bill. They'd take it up onto a branch like this and whack, whack, whack. They'd smack it a few times against the branch, and then they'd tilt their head back and swallow it. I believe, let's zoom in here. I believe, do we see wait a second. So what I'm looking for is if there's a brown band. Another picture here. Yeah. So male kingfisher will have a kind of a necklace, a blue necklace around underneath its neck there. The female will have an additional brown band below that. Let's see if it'll turn here. I think we're looking at the male here. I don't see any brown underneath. But super cool birds. Ones that I've seen when it's pretty cold out. So I don't know, how far they migrate, if they do in fact migrate. They probably need to be somewhere where there's open water. So if they can have that need met, maybe they won't have to go as far. But yeah, love those kingfisher. And they have a fun little rattling call that they make. Almost sounds like they're laughing. Great bird, great find, great pick. So Keith and Rebecca, thank you so much for sharing your latest finds. All right, from here, I think I can just sashay over here. And yeah, since we're still screen sharing. All right, so yeah, I mentioned in the email, the first email, that I don't know where the link was in the first email, but it is spider season, and specifically it's a really cool spider season. This is an example of one of the spiders that is, it's funny, they're here, all summer long. It's not like they just magically appear in the fall, but they are very, they're probably the biggest that they're going to be at this time of year. So they're more obvious. This is a pumpkin spider or a marbled orb weaver. Arrhenius marmorius is the scientific name for these guys, or these gals, I should say. When you see a spider with an abdomen like that, you're looking at a female. A quick little backstory on this. I had, a couple of years ago, I'd gotten a call from a reader down in Batavia who said it was November 1st. I remember this clearly because it was a day after Halloween. She was out cleaning up her yard, and she bent over to pick up what she thought was part of a child's Halloween costume. Well, surprise, surprise, the little bit of what she thought was costume went running up her arm and down her back. So she went in to the house, got her husband to catch the costume part that turned out to be a marbled orb weaver like this. And then she called and wanted to know if I wanted it. And I said, yes. Well, long story short, I brought the spider home. It produced an enormous egg sac and died. I put the egg sac outside. I don't know exactly what happened to it. I don't know if this is a descendant of that spider or if it's just another pumpkin orb weaver that made its way into the yard. I was actually doing some much needed yard cleanup about a week and a half ago, and this was on one of the many grape leaves that are on the fence in the backyard, and I had pulled the grapevine down, but I then put it back so that the spider would hopefully be able to carry on, because they are super cool. And again, at their peak at this time of the year, keep your eyes open. You might be able to see one too, especially with this warm weather. They're much more active than we would normally expect at this time of the year. So this one looks similar, doesn't it? There's some bold, even bolder striping on the legs of this spider, and bright color, not orange in this case, more of a brick red. But I put this spider in here for a couple of reasons. One, even like our pumpkin orb weavers, they can have a tremendous range in the color of their abdomen. It's just these orangish ones are so obvious, but it can they can be brown, it can be kind of gray. It can have other colors besides pumpkin color and still be marbled orb weaver. So can this, which is not a marble orb weaver. So let's zoom in just a little bit here. You'll notice that the pattern on this spider's back has a lot of white spots, whereas our pumpkin orb weaver, the spots are more diffuse. All right, and I will close a window. Maybe that'll help. I'll close another window. Maybe that'll help. I don't know if you guys are seeing that message too, that the system resources are low. But see the pattern on this spider. It does have some white in it, but it doesn't have those distinct large white dots. And then the bands on the legs are not quite as prominent. So that's the marble orb weaver. This is called the shamrock orb weaver. Arrhenius trifolium, I believe. I'm not sure where the shamrock name comes from, but I think it has something to do with the pattern there on the abdomen. But let's zoom in on this gal. This was up at Phillips State Park, which is up on Stearns Road in Bartlett. The abdomen, she might have already deposited some eggs, because see how this is kind of folded here. It's still good size, but I wonder if she's maybe created one egg sac and is working on producing another one. With the well, with all spiders, you can look too at these structures here at the front of the head. They're called the pedipalps, and on the males, that's where they carry their reproductive aids. And so they're much larger. They look kind of like boxing gloves. And then the males don't get these large abdomens like we see on the females. So this gal just happened to be tottering her way across the path. Now, I think a couple of years ago, somebody had sent me a picture of a shamrock orb weaver, just to give you a sense of how widely the color can vary. Now, this one too has the distinct bands on the legs, but this one actually had sort of a greenish cast to it. There you can see the white dots present too, as we saw on the red version. But color for this species anyway, this and also the marbled orb weaver, the color isn't always a giveaway. You got to look at a few other things, the banding on the legs, the markings on the abdomen, regardless of what shade they might be. Now, I think I also see if I can get it to play here. Yeah, this was the what we saw on the path at James Pate Phillip State Park. She was making her way along the gravel here as it loads. I don't know if you've ever been to that state park. It's really the closest one we have to this particular, to our area here. It started off, gosh, probably 50, and it was named because it covers, oh, here we go. So here goes the spider.
People wanted to know about the
She's
trip that I took to Europe, and I was telling them about the wildfires.
oh,
Look at that.
just turn the audio off there. She was moving right along and probably was regretting her decision to walk out in front of a bunch of nature nerds, because of course we had to stop and observe and ooh and ah and take lots of pictures and yes, pick her up. But I was surprised at the quantity of silk that she let go. I don't think there's any coming out right here, but on my hand and on my jacket sleeve, there was quite a bit of silk. That's how spiders kind of keep track of where they've been and where they're going. They can lay that silk down, and then if need be, they can retreat by following it back again. Anyway, yeah. James Pate Phillip State Park is, it adjoins some land that is part of Pratt's Wayne Woods, which is a DuPage County Forest Preserve. And that original name of Tri-County was significant because it was a collaboration between Cook County, DuPage County, and Kane County. There is a nature center there that is now occupied and operated by the Bartlett Park District. The nature center was closed when we got there. It closes at 4 o'clock. Keep that in mind if you make a visit up there. I haven't been in there in quite a while. I do remember when it first opened, it had some pretty cool exhibits about prairie fires. There were some games. It's kind of funny that games were designed for kids, but they were built at an adult scale. So it was more fun for grownups to play them than for kids. But if you're in the area and you want to check it out, there are a couple of nice looped walking paths that take you through various habitats. We spent some time, I don't think I took any pictures because how can you top a spider like this? But Brewster Creek runs through there, and Brewster Creek there's been so much beaver activity. You know, it's funny, Brewster Creek had a dam on it at what is now called Brewster Creek Forest Preserve on Route 25. Back in the day, that parcel was owned by the YWCA, and it was called Camp Tuendawee. And there was a dam there so that campers could take canoes out. In fact, I actually went there in high school for our ecology class. We went there and did pond study for a day back in the 1970s. So that dam was there for a long time. It is now gone. That man-made dam is gone. But there's been so much beaver activity and so many beaver dams in Brewster Creek at James Pate Phillips State Park that the creek is now spread out and formed a good sized wetland. There were some ducks paddling around in the creek there. A huge carp was jumping and entertaining us as well. So it's close by. If it's not super windy, it can be quite a pleasant walk. There's not a lot of trees on the two walking loops. So unless you really love wind, I would choose a less windy day to go out and check it out. But you never know what you might see. Like a cool spider like this. That's also a place. I should have thrown this in that picture in too. Someone had sent me a couple years ago a picture of the wooden bridge that crosses Brewster Creek at this park. And there was a big old wet tail mark where an otter had climbed up out of the water and then jumped back in again. There's probably 3 reports that I can think of offhand of otters at Brewster Creek at that section. Pratt's Wayne Woods, again, this property, this parcel abuts that one. Lots and lots of diversity there. Some endangered species, definitely worth checking out. And who knows, you might be lucky enough to see an otter. All right. So from spiders, let's go to squirrels. I don't think they know what to do with these warm days we're having. I shot this picture the other day. I was out at Hickory Knolls, and of course, Hickory, our next door neighbor is the Illinois Youth Corrections Facility. And these squirrels were both, the one on the right, I think got a little suspicious because I stood there too long, so he sat up, but they were both stretched out. This squirrel on the left, this is a cooling posture that they'll adopt. They spread out and they try to let their body heat dissipate. In fact, there was one doing that on the front step of Good Natured World headquarters this morning. 80 degrees at the end of October is just really crazy. I'm overdressed. They're probably overdressed too because they're getting ready for winter. But it just struck me as kind of funny hanging out there next to the razor wire at the boys' home. And then from one rodent to another. So squirrels are preparing for winter by putting on body fat, by thickening their winter, the fur that they will use to keep warm this winter. Well, the beavers prepare. So this is at Leroy Oaks Forest Preserve. This is the area where a dam was removed about 12 years ago. I think it was around 2012 that the dam came out. And the boulders, it was not a concrete structure like we see on the Fox River. This was made of boulders, and the boulders were pulled apart. And when it's not dammed up, this is almost like a little whitewater area that the water tumbling over these rocks injects a lot of oxygen into the water, or oxygenates the water as it tumbles over those rocks. I know the Forest Preserve staff has broken this dam up a time or two, but this is classic beaver behavior where they have the start of some impediment there in the water, and they just add to it with sticks and mud. I'm guessing that somewhere in this little impoundment that they've created, they've got a bank den, which is a but it sounds like it's a den in the bank that they will climb up and into for shelter. The entrance is going to be below the water, so they're not really visible to us. But in the winter time, you can sometimes see their activity where they're going in and out of the water, so you can kind of get a sense for where that entrance might be. But in addition to creating impoundments like this, the beavers will also be creating a cache, CACHE, cache of food, strip or limbs that they can feed off of in the winter time. So I didn't see any signs of a food cache quite yet, but that should probably be coming now that they've got the water conditions the way they like them. This is a really neat area. Again, the high oxygen content in the water enables a lot of different types of macroinvertebrates or aquatic insects to live in this area. Right where these rocks are here, it's one of my bigger regrets. I always tell people, if you see something that looks out of place, but the animal doesn't seem to be injured in any way, it's usually best to leave it alone because you might not have the full story. Well, I broke that rule a couple of years ago. We had a field trip there, and there was a hellgrammite, which are they're the larva of the Dobson fly. They're a good sized aquatic larva. I would say, well, bigger than my pinky. They're sometimes called toe biters because they are predators. They've got large mandibles on the front of their head. Well, we are walking along the path that looks over at this dam, and I see this hellgrammite there. It was a rainy day, and I thought, oh, I wonder if a bird plucked this up and then dropped it. So I picked it up and I put it right there on this rock. Well, afterwards I thought, I wonder what the real story is. Well, it turns out hellgrammites, they do have to leave the water in order to pupate. And this poor thing had probably spent the better part of a day climbing over the rocks and, getting out of the stream, making its way into the moist leaves where it could pupate and then emerge as a Dobson fly. And I erased all that effort. Luckily, I didn't put it actually in the water, but I put it very, very close to where it had started. So hopefully it was able to overcome that and mature into a Dobson fly. But I will always remember that looking at this particular scene. Now, Wallace, you had sent this photo as well as this photo. And I love, toads are so good. They're toads, they're one of our larger amphibians. They are so good at making themselves nearly invisible. Look at how well this toad has hunkered down. The question was the species, and this is a perfect shot to talk about the toads that live in Illinois. We have two different toad species here. We have the Fowler's toad and we have the American toad in Illinois. However, in King County and actually most of northern Illinois, we only have American toads. If you go down, say, to Will County, then Fowler's toads enter the picture, and you can then find Fowler's toads throughout the rest, like the southern 2/3 of the state. If you have the toad in hand like this, or are close enough to see the markings on the toad, can you see here how this toad has these dark spots? And the dark spots only have a couple, one or two bumps in each one. Here, 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 here. That's one of the tells for if you're looking at an American toad. If it had more than a couple of bumps per dark spot, if it had, like, say, 3, 4, 5, 6 bumps, then you are looking at a Fowler's toad. There's a big difference in what these toads sound like too, but visually that's what to look at. Few number of bumps, or we do still call them warts. If you only see a couple of warts per bump, then you know you're looking at an American toad, and that is the species of toad that we have here in Kane County. Another thing though that we can look at, this is present in all of our toads, Fowler's, American, Rocky Mountain, all the different types of toads in North America, well, and perhaps around the world. They have these enlarged glands back behind the eyes. Those are called I've heard it pronounced parotid and parotid. I'm going to go with parotid glands. There's a toxin in there. If you've ever seen a dog or a cat or a kid put a toad in their mouth, they'll spit it out right away because it doesn't taste good. Sometimes they start to gag a little bit. Stuff comes out. That's because toads are not great at escaping, and they're good at camouflaging. They're not good at hopping. A toad, you know, a leopard frog can leap a great distance. A toad, they're just not good at jumping. So they have that added protection of these toxin glands right here behind their eyes. I think we're getting close to the end. Yeah, I thought it was time we mentioned these the multicolored Asian lady beetles. They are having a good year this year. And this, so this was at Hickory Knolls. This was in a sort of a traditional gathering place for these insects in the bathroom, not the bathroom, the basement stairway. But these two who just happen to be sitting like this, they really exemplify that multicolored part of the lady beetle's name. They these are the same species. They just have this one's kind of a, you know, blandish pale orange color. This one is a much deeper, like tomato soup red. This one on the left has spots. The one on the right has none. They were having a convention over by the windows. Some of these are alive. A lot of these are dead. This one I think must have gotten, I don't know, squished by a kid. But it was a point I wanted to make. You know, people, these things are coming in right now. They're in their native habitat. They would be heading for bluffs, and they would overwinter in the crevices of bluffs. Well, around here, if they can't find a bluff, chances are they can find a house that has crevices, and that's where they're headed, around our windows, around our doors, and up in our siding, any place that they can find where they can get sheltered away from the coming cold temperatures. You can again see the tremendous variation in the colors here. They do give off a kind of a funny smell. It's a defensive chemical. Yes, they can pinch. Some people have said they've actually gotten a reaction from the bites of these creatures, but we are in the midst of their most obvious time of year when they're seeking shelter from the winter. The other point I want to make is once they're inside, especially once you know, our furnaces kick in and our indoor humidity goes down, these things cannot survive for very long. And some of these, like I said, they have already, they were crispy because they've been inside just long enough that they've lost their humidity and they've died. Despite the wide range in markings, there is something that is fairly constant, and it is the well, this one here on the left, it looks like a W, but if we turn that W around, like this one below it here, that W turns into an M per multicolored Asian lady beetle. You can see it here on the right. They all have that marking or a similar variation of it on their pronotum, this shield that covers their head. So you can be sure that's what you're looking at. These guys also tend to be larger than our native lady beetles. And this time of year, if you're seeing a ladybug, chances are very good it's going to be one of these non-native ladies that you're seeing, ladies or gentlemen that you're seeing. I just love a good house centipede. This is much as the Asian lady beetles are not necessarily welcome in our homes. Well, frankly, the house centipedes aren't usually welcome either, but they are good guys to have around. These house centipedes, fast as they run, they are very good at catching things that you don't want to have set up housekeeping in your house. They catch silverfish, they catch cockroaches, they catch, I've heard they even feed on bed bugs. They are predators. They don't want to be around people. That's why they scurry away. They do have venom. The first pair of legs up here at the front are modified into fangs, and that's how they feed. That's how they inject their venom. The venom is there to catch their prey with. But it always makes my day when I see a house centipede scurry by. And just by luck, I found this too. You can now face, if you're someone who maybe doesn't feel that centipedes are your friends, maybe this will help you. I'll just let you take in these explanations. They really are handy creatures to have around, as much as they do make people scream. They are they're one of the good guys. So with that, let's stop our share here. And oh, we've got some chats to get to. Yeah. Yeah, well, thanks everybody. Yeah, it's there is life after work. I honestly don't know what retirement is going to be like. I know some of you have had some experience there, and it sounds like it's something that I'm really gonna like, but I don't know. You know, I don't know how to plan anything. So my plan for now is to just not plan anything, and we'll see what comes together. I do want to keep writing. I don't want to have a weekly deadline, at least not for a while, till I start to miss it. All this is just stuff we're gonna have to figure out, but I will figure out a way to stay in touch. And Wallace, you have a native honey locust in your front yard. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever watched, you know, what types of birds nest in it, but supposedly there is a higher nesting success for birds that are able to set up in and have that protection from predators that would be trying to climb up and eat them. And yeah, thanks, Jim. And okay, and the boardwalk is still present at Volo Bog. So yeah, if you're that's another great state park in northern Illinois. Maybe if you haven't been there, put it on your list to check out. All right, thanks, Jerry. Yeah, I think as long as the kingfishers can find open water, they'll stick around. So maybe you'll be able to see one this winter even.
You can come visit. We'll look at them together. Try and find the nest in the spring.
Sometime, yes, that is. I have ever since I found out they nest in embankments. I've been looking, and I haven't even like found an old nest, you know, to have confirmation that that's what they do. But that's what all the books say. So yeah, we'll put that on the list. I like that, Jerry. Thanks. That sounds good. And are Asian ladybugs beneficial in the garden? Well, yes, to the same extent that the native ones are. They were actually brought here on purpose to eat aphids. It was, I think, the first introduction was. I'm actually reworking a column that I had written about them several years ago. So if I can think hard for just a second here, I want to say it was 1916 or so was the first intentional introduction, and they were introduced a few times after that, specifically to eat soybean aphids. So they are predators like our native ladybugs. It's just sometimes they are so good at what they do, and I believe because they're larger, they produce more babies than our native ladybugs do, and so they can outcompete them. But they do a lot of the same good things, eating pests like aphids. So yes, they can be helpful. Just when their numbers get so high like this, and they crowd out the native one. There's a couple of what's it, the Lost Ladybug Project, and then I think there's some projects on iNaturalist too, where people are looking at how they are. They have the good thing that they do. They eat aphids, but then are they making things difficult for our native ladybugs? That's the one concern about them. But I let them come in. I don't have a ton. I did replace my windows about 8 years ago, and that did cut down on the number that were making their way in. But like the stink bugs that make their way in, they make good cat toys. Yes, that's right, Jerry. Laura and I can now get in all kinds of trouble as retired or retired, but we are still and always will be nature nerds. So with that, folks, we have gone a little bit over time. I so much appreciate seeing you all here. We are going to be back at it again next week. So I look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, take care. Have a great, good-natured week. See you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Pam.
Pam.
Hi, Pam.
Thanks so much, Pam.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye, Pam.